Hi there, this is Heath Kazire, Vice President of NT Dry. We're here at Four Oaks Farm where we're going to talk today about hoof maintenance. Follow along. The one thing that people do with thrush is they treat as soon as they see and smell that black goo. Problem is, by the time you actually see and smell that goo, it's been eating inside that foot for weeks. Often they are treating with caustic products. For instance, people use bleach. Now, bleach is going to kill bacteria, but it's also going to damage that tissue down inside that foot. So let's get right into talking about the heel crack. The heel crack is the #1 reason why we have recurring thrush. And here's what happens. So this area right here, I've got a model. This area right here is pretty soft, right here between the heel bulbs. So the bacteria gets in right there, and it's an anaerobic bacteria, so it does not want oxygen and it wants to get as deep in as it possibly can. Well, what we need to know is there should not be a heel crack at all. It should be a dimple versus a crack. In fact, let's look at a couple of pictures here just so you can see the difference. So here's a crack and here's a dimple. Here's a crack and here's a dimple. And so if you have an opening, that is literally an opening inside this tissue right here. We want this completely closed with no access into the bottom of the feet. Also, with these collateral grooves, we as consumers, we have no problem getting really aggressive right here, and we clean these out and clean these out. But if there's a thrush problem in there and whatnot, everything gets really soft, and so we start digging this out, and it becomes a trench, and it starts to undercut that frog. Here's a really good example of how we want you to use NT Dry. So you can see here, we want to clean that out. You can see the pockets of thrush there in the grooves. You're going to clean that out, pull that mud and the gunk out of there, and then you're going to dust the grooves and dust that heel. Now when I say dust, we really want it inside there because that is where all the mess is, and the powder's going to absorb all that excess moisture. Here's a little tip. You can either put that bottle up inside that heel crack and puff powder in, but you have to know that the powder absorbs so fast that it might clog the tip. So what I tend to do now is I'll put a quarter-size puff here on the top, and then I'll take the edge of my pick and I'll just wiggle that down inside there. NT Dry also works great on white line disease. You're going to dust that powder in there, and personally I like to run my thumb around the edge just so it packs it up into any white line problem areas. And so now let's step back a second, and now I'm going to try to take all that powder out to show you how well it sticks up in there. And you can see Kathleen is scrubbing that down, scrubbing it off, trying to scrub it off. And even trying to do so, the product still stays right there. A lot of people use the product with boots. For instance, Founders, white lines, soft frogs, heel cracks. What they'll do is you'll put the powder inside that boot, dust the foot itself, slip the boot on, and that's all it takes. So if the horse is out for 24 hours with his boot on, you'll see when you take that boot off, there is no sweat, there is no moisture buildup. Now you can really get in here and see these. At an angle. And we're moving up to the last foot.
This one's really bad.
You can see it's raw. We can even see the oozing happening there and the scabs. So here we go. Let's pull it up. And he's going to be a little sore on this one, it looks like. So we've got a good puff in there. Gently get it into that hairline. Now what we're going to do is we're going to walk him. I'm going to show you how that stays on there. Here we've got a horse that has a fungus, this hair. Go ahead and pull that hair out. This is typical rain scald, rain rot, fungus in the hairline, so this is how you're going to treat. Okay, this is day 3 on this rain rot, and this is basically gone. So Kathleen, go ahead and try to pull that hair off of there. One last really important thing to think about when it comes to these heel cracks. Now imagine you've got a real working horse, an athlete horse. Well, every time that horse takes a step, theoretically that energy is supposed to go straight up into that shoulder. But now he's got a heel crack. So now the heel yawns open and the energy goes sideways, and then it ultimately has to crack back up into that shoulder. And it's going to cause soft tissue issues. We see it here all the time because that thrushy foot, that horse is now walking on his toe on that foot. He's landing really hard on his good foot, and so that's going to cause trauma in that leg, and you're going to have soft tissue issues. Thank you very much for joining me. Keep an eye for those heel cracks, the deep collateral grooves that undercut the frog, and those soft frogs, because those are all issues that will cause problems in the future. Quick dusting of NT Dry and you will be all set. Once a week maintenance is huge, proactive. I hugely advise it. Take care. Cheers.